From the harsh, windswept steppes of Mongolia, one name rose to echo through eternity, a name that would redraw the map of the world. This is the story of a boy named Temüjin, who would become the great Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. But his journey was far from a simple tale of conquest. It was a saga of survival, betrayal, and a vision that would unite a fractured people and forge the largest contiguous land empire in history. How did an outcast, hunted and alone, become the conqueror of empires? Join us as we uncover the epic life of Genghis Khan. Born around 1162, Temüjin's early life was brutal. His father, Yasuge, a minor chieftain, was poisoned by rival Tatars, leaving 9-year-old Temüjin and his family abandoned by their own clan. They were left to fend for themselves in the unforgiving wilderness. These were years of extreme hardship, living off roots and rodents, constantly on the run from enemies. It was during this time that Temüjin learned his first and perhaps most important lessons. Trust is a rare commodity, and survival depends on strength and cunning. In one famous incident, he was captured by a rival clan and forced to wear a wooden collar. But even as a prisoner, his spirit was unbreakable. He waited for his moment, knocked out his guard, and escaped under the cover of darkness, a daring act that foreshadowed the brilliant strategist he would become. This period of adversity forged deep bonds. He allied himself with a powerful chieftain named Togrul, a friend of his late father, and also with Jamuka, a charismatic young leader who became his Anda, or blood brother. Together, they rescued Temüjin's wife, Burti, who had been kidnapped by the Merkit tribe. This successful campaign was a turning point. It wasn't just a personal victory, it showcased Temüjin's emerging leadership and military prowess. His followers grew, drawn to his generosity, his focus on merit rather than noble birth, and his unwavering resolve. He shared the spoils of war fairly, promoting soldiers based on skill and loyalty, not their family ties. This was a revolutionary concept on the steppes, and it earned him the fierce devotion of his men. However, Temüjin's rising influence created a rift between him and his blood brother, Jamuka. While Temüjin favored a merit-based system, Jamuka adhered to the traditional aristocratic hierarchy. Their friendship soured into a bitter rivalry, dividing the Mongol tribes into two opposing factions. The inevitable clash was a long and painful struggle for supremacy. For years, they battled across the steppes, their conflict a microcosm of the old ways versus the new. Ultimately, Temüjin's innovative tactics and the unwavering loyalty of his men prevailed. In 1206, after defeating all remaining rivals, including Jamuka, a great assembly of Mongol chiefs, a Kurultai was held. It was here that Temüjin was proclaimed Genghis Khan, the great Khan of all the steppe peoples. The Mongol nation was born. As Genghis Khan, his first act was to organize his new nation. He didn't just unite the tribes, he fundamentally restructured their society. He established a written legal code known as the Yasa, which covered everything from property rights to a ban on kidnapping women. It promoted trade, created a postal relay system called the Yam for rapid communication across his expanding territories, and even decreed religious tolerance. He organized his army using a decimal system, creating units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. This structure fostered discipline, enabled swift and complex battlefield maneuvers, and broke down old tribal loyalties, replacing them with a singular allegiance to the Khan himself. The Mongol war machine, renowned for its speed, discipline, and psychological warfare, was now ready to be unleashed upon the world. The first major campaigns were against the powerful states bordering Mongolia. He turned his attention to the western Xia and the Jin dynasty in northern China. The Mongols were masters of the open steppe, but they were new to siege warfare. Yet they adapted with astonishing speed. They learned from captured engineers, building sophisticated siege engines like catapults and battering rams. They employed clever tactics, such as feigned retreats to lure enemies into ambushes and diverting rivers to flood cities. They were utterly ruthless, often offering cities a chance to surrender peacefully. Those that complied were spared, but those that resisted faced total annihilation, a terrifying strategy that caused many cities to surrender without a fight. The conquest of northern China brought vast wealth, technology, and skilled artisans into the Mongol fold, further strengthening the empire. With his eastern flank secured, Genghis Khan looked west, towards the sprawling Khwarezmian Empire in Central Asia. Initially, he sought trade, not war, sending a caravan of merchants and diplomats. But in a fateful act of arrogance, the governor of a Khwarezmian city executed the envoys. This was an unforgivable insult. Genghis Khan's response was swift and cataclysmic. He personally led a massive army of over 100,000 warriors across some of the most inhospitable terrain on earth, including the vast Kizil-Kum desert, to achieve complete surprise. The campaign that followed was one of the most devastating in history. Great centers of Islamic civilization like Samarkand and Bukhara were razed to the ground. The Khwarezmian Empire, one of the most powerful in the world, was completely obliterated in just a few years. The message was clear: defiance of the great Khan would bring utter ruin. The Mongol conquests were undeniably brutal, resulting in immense destruction. Yet to see Genghis Khan as only a destroyer is to miss half the story. The empire he created, known as the Pax Mongolica or Mongol Peace, ushered in an unprecedented era of stability and connection across Eurasia. For the first time in centuries, the Silk Road was safe for travel. Merchants, missionaries, and explorers like Marco Polo could journey from Europe to China with relative ease. This facilitated an incredible exchange of goods, ideas, technologies, and cultures. Gunpowder, the compass, and printing from the East made their way to the West, while Western science and art traveled east. He created a world more interconnected than it had ever been before. In 1227, during a final campaign against the rebellious Western Xia, Genghis Khan died. The exact cause of his death remains a mystery. Some say it was from injuries after falling off his horse, others from illness. His final resting place was kept a secret, and to this day, his tomb has never been found, buried somewhere in the sacred mountains of his homeland. But his legacy was far from buried. Before his death, he had carefully planned for his succession, dividing the empire among his 4 sons. They and their descendants would continue the conquests, extending Mongol rule from the shores of the Pacific to the heart of Europe. They would found dynasties like the Yuan in China and the Golden Horde in Russia, forever changing the course of history for countless nations. Genghis Khan's life is a story of incredible contrasts. He was an outcast who became a unifier, a leader who valued loyalty and merit but used terror as a tool of statecraft. He was responsible for immense destruction, but also for creating a bridge between East and West that spurred centuries of progress. His story is a powerful reminder that history is rarely simple. It shows how a single individual, forged in the crucible of hardship and driven by a powerful vision, can leave an indelible mark on the entire world. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the epic life of Genghis Khan. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into history's most compelling figures. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Who should we cover next? Until next time, stay curious.